The story begins in a cave, filled with the monsters that everyone hates. Right now, they celebrate the death of their chief. When the leader dies, there comes an opportunity to take his place as well as his belongings. The large goblin sprawled on the ground is probably the chief, while the smaller ones rummaging through his belongings are clueless fools. They can't even decide who should take the wooden club. Two little goblins settled their argument over who gets to be the next chief in the only way they knew, by fighting. One of the goblins lunged ferociously at the other, not willing to let him have the chief's weapon to himself. Two goblins fighting is one of the worst sights you could ever see. They would bite, claw, and even pull dirty moves, all while they curse each other out. The rest of the goblins naturally gravitate to the violence. They would form a circle around them and cheer for the two to finish each other off. In the midst of the chaos, one goblin remembered that the chief had left some untouched prey deeper in the cave. Now that the prey no longer belongs to anyone officially, the goblins believe they can just take it for themselves. But there's one issue with that plan. Someone is guarding it, and he's not letting anyone through without a fight. The goblin they're all talking about is on his way back to the prey's location, ready to stand watch again. He's a goblin too, but clearly different from the rest. As he walks through the lair, the other goblins glare at him with disgust and hatred. He's known as the guardian of the prey, a strange and unwanted figure who covers his body with clothes like a human. Some goblins believe he's just keeping the prey to himself, so they come up with a simple plan: follow him and he'll lead them straight to it. Still, a few of the more cautious goblins decide to wait. Right after the chief died, some of the tougher goblins already ran off into the cave to find the prey. When the fighting starts, the smarter ones plan to step in and take advantage of the chaos. Meanwhile, the outcast goblin hears everything. He hears every word, every insult, every whispered scheme behind his back. Then, suddenly, he hears something else. A woman's scream echoing from the deeper part of the cave. A desperate cry for help. He doesn't hesitate. He runs. As he reaches the entrance of the chief's chamber, the screams grow louder, more frantic. He picks up speed, rushing into the darkness. What he finds is horrifying. The prey is fighting with everything she has while several goblins pin her down. She's doing everything she can to resist, terrified of being forced to bear goblin offspring. And then, all at once, she sees him, the outcast. Her eyes widen with hope. She cries out again, louder, more desperate, pleading for him to save her. As the goblins ripped her clothes and touched all over her body, the outcast demands that they let her go, but they were not willing to obey. In this room, bones of all kinds of creatures have been scattered all over. The biggest goblin in the room stood up to the freak outcast, insisting that the prey was now his after the chief's death. If the freak disagrees with that and dares to take his prey, then he could just die at the hands of his goons. 3 goblins charged at him from a front. He managed to dodge their attacks, but they kept coming. The outcast can't believe that these low-level goblins are giving him a hard time defending. The goblins try their best, scratching, biting, even ripping his cloak, but Mr. Outcast wasn't having it. He gritted his teeth and locked in. He can't die here. He's just getting started. He has to survive. Then boom, goblin blood hits the floor. One goes down, and just like that, the other 2 start sweating bullets. Mr. Outcast whips out his homemade dagger, the one that looks like it was forged in a kindergarten art class, and stares them down. He raises the janky blade like, "Try me, I dare you." And just as expected, these so-called tough guys turn into track stars. These goblins only act brave when they've got backup. But the second real danger shows up, they run like scared puppies. A few seconds ago, they were yelling, "The prey is ours." Now, they're gone like they were never there. Mr. Outcast finally breathes. His heart's racing like crazy. Then, the girl walks up, worried, thankful. She checks on him and thanks him again for saving her. Unlike the rest, this goblin never touched her. In fact, he's the only one who'd throw himself into danger just to keep her safe. She doesn't want him to die. He's not like the others. And he never was. You see, Mr. Outcast used to be a human. Yeah, Lin Tion, hit by truck wind and woke up in Goblin World. Instead of seeing God, He got a welcome to this world screen and a system that looks cool, but it doesn't actually do anything yet. He can see his stats, and that's about it. Still, he's been using his time wisely. While stuck in this creepy cave, he's been talking with the girl, learning all kinds of things about this new world. Turns out, this place is packed with powerful races, dragons, demons, all kinds of wild stuff. And humans? They've managed to hold their ground. But goblins? Bottom of the food chain. Literally the weakest, dirtiest, and most hated creatures in the realm. Even among goblins, Lin Tion's stats are tragic. He's a level 5 goblin with no class, trash tier stats, and one racial skill called Gene Devour. He's got a stone knife and 30 combat power. Yup, our guy is pathetic. Apparently goblins can power up by reproducing. But here's the messed up part. They can't make female goblins. So they go about raiding, kidnapping, and doing horrible things just to grow stronger. But Lin Tian? He's not built like that. He's human on the inside. The idea disgusts him. The girl knows that now. She saw him in the corner, quiet and ashamed, and told him it's okay. After spending these last few days together, she understands he's different. He doesn't belong with these monsters. One look in his miserable eyes, and you can tell. He doesn't wish to live among these vile creatures. She promises him something. When the Night Order, a powerful human rescue squad, comes to save her, she'll tell them everything. That Lin Tian protected her, but he's not like the rest. The Night Order is known for being fair. If anyone would give a goblin like him a chance, it's them. And now that Lin Tian thinks about it, maybe that future isn't so bad. He just has to stay alive a little longer. Wait for the rescue, and maybe, just maybe, figure out how to fully activate this mysterious system of his. Before all that, it seemed like they would need to fight a few more bastards, as the other goblins must have figured out where the prey stash was. Now that the goblins were coming back for more, Lin Tian hurriedly instructed the pink-haired lady to go hide in their designated hiding spot. Hidden behind the rocks, she watched as Lin Tian brought out his rough stone knife. A desperate Gunner goblin was maniacally running away from humans while fervently looking for something to mate with. He wanted to get stronger so he wouldn't be killed. Fortunately, the desperate but straightforward movement was easy to predict, and Lin Tian swiftly slashed the Gunner goblin's throat open. At least now they know that some humans have entered the lair. Those guys might be here to rescue the lady. She immediately got up and ran towards the cavern's exit, expecting to see the rescue team, the mighty Holy Order. Lin Tian tagged along beside her. When they reached the entrance, the two watched as a knight wearing heavy armor and a resplendent cloak cut down multiple goblins at once with a sword chi slash. Lin Tian did not know whether to feel fearful or relieved to see such a powerful human. Loader is a level 25 human swordsman with a crap ton of stats. His skills include the sword chi slash, sword dance, and the holy skill, sword return to heaven. Equipped with the judgment sword and platinum armor, his overall combat power is at 400 points. Compared with Lin Tian's current power, the difference is terrific. This is his first time seeing someone with such high attributes since he was reborn in this fantasy world. Is this Loader guy really human? The lady excitedly ran up to the knight, calling him commander. Lin Tian, on the other hand, was looking at all the corpses of the dead goblins lying around. Then he lifted his gaze and saw something even more odd and alarming. The knight has raised his judgment sword, seemingly intending to slice the surviving captive. The Lady Lin Tian has been protecting for days now. The little outcast goblin almost took the slash as he used all the strength in his meager body to push the lady out of the sword's trajectory. They clumsily landed to the side. The pain of hitting the floor hard is preferable to being cut in half, right? Lin Tian was confused and alarmed. These people are supposed to be here for a rescue operation, right? Why are they turning their blades to a fellow human? Maybe it's because the cave is too dark that they mistook the lady for a goblin too. Loader looked down on the victims that disgracefully dodged his attack. The lady tried to appeal to the commander, introducing herself as Kalia. The bastard just told her to shut the hell up. He planned to kill her from the very beginning. Loader assumed that the goblins must have had their way with her already, and he was not willing to spare even the spawn of those horrendous creatures. Kelia felt scared and helpless as she tugged on the commander's cloak while pleading. She insisted that although she was captured, she was not defiled by the goblins. She pointed at Lin Tian and asserted that because this brave little goblin was protecting her, she was kept safe and away from the rest of the lair. Loder just scoffed at her explanation. He proclaimed that if she's going to make up stories, at least make ones that are believable. Only a fool would believe that a goblin has a heart. Kelia can just go and meet her end along with these lowly creatures. Lin Tian can't believe it. Is this really how humans are in this realm? Lin Tian dashed in front of Kelia and screamed at her to make for the exit at the other side of the cave. Using just a wooden club, he intends to clash against Loder's judgment sword in hopes of buying just a little more time. He did not expect this outcome at all, but just as Loder's blade was about to connect, a mysterious glow shot into the room and lit up the whole spot. An angelic voice told Loder to wait up, and the knight complied, stopping his attacks and falling silent. Meanwhile, Lin Tian has been encased by a golden light sphere of protection. A beautiful blondie in a white veil backed up by dozens of armored knights was the one controlling the golden magic. She thought our little goblin seemed a bit strange. Kelia crawled towards the blondie, calling her Holy Maiden and begging to be saved. The Holy Maiden accepted her with open arms and lifted her off the ground. She handed Kelia to Commander Loder to the side and turned her attention to the goblin encased in her golden magic, asking if he could understand her. As far as Lin Tian knows, this woman is the Holy Maiden of Freya, the spokesperson of the temple Kelia has told him about. If he wants to leave this place, she might be the only hope. Lin Tian stood up and confirmed the identity of the Holy Maiden. He said that he was not a monster and, in fact, not of this world, and he used to be human. He just became a goblin because of an accident. He can explain everything in detail if the Holy Order would just take him along with them. Loder even had to admit that our little goblin was a lot smarter than the other goblins, which is pretty rare. Freya also commented that goblins are generally stupid and lowly creatures. The dumbest of the dumb. They usually can't even speak or think very fluently. Freya thought this little guy might be a gift from the Holy Mother. The Holy Maiden turned to Kelia to confirm if she was harmed by the goblin. She gently looked at Kelia and confirmed whether the goblin was harmless or not. The lady vigorously campaigned for Lin Tian, saying that not only did he not hurt her, but he also protected her from the other goblins while providing food for her. Freya smiled and decided that since the little one was so special, they could take it back to the town. But they will conduct thorough studies before making a final decision. She stared down at Lin Tian and asked if he would be okay with that arrangement. He decided he would go with the Holy Order. As they are known for their sympathy, this was a chance for him to survive. He was just relieved that he finally met someone who was willing to listen to reason. Staying in this lair only means death. He might as well go to a human town and prove his innocence. Freya suddenly raised her hand, and with the flick of her wrist, the golden sphere encasing Lin Tian was dissolved. Then she turned around and ordered everyone to move out of the cave. Lin Tian promised the Holy Maiden that he would repay her kindness as soon as possible. A twisted smile appeared on the Holy Maiden's face. Lin Tian turned around to witness a terrible scene. Right there, Loder stabbed Kelia through the stomach. Lin Tian was distraught at the sight of the captive, who held on to the hope of being rescued. Fighting for her life for such a long time only to fall at the hands of the ones she put her hope in Indiana. A week had passed, and we now witnessed the scenery of a peaceful town. People are gathered at the town square listening to Commander Loder give a speech. He addressed the villagers as children of God and went on to emphasize how much harm the goblins brought to Bright Town just recently. The goblins launched all kinds of despicable attacks to slaughter 30 residents of Bright Town. Hearing this enraged the villagers. They demanded revenge against the goblins. Humans and goblins are mortal enemies. Loder goes on to inform them that the Holy Order has exterminated those vile bastards to avenge the fallen villagers on behalf of the temple. Freya steps out, telling the villagers to continue to pray and give themselves devoutly to the temple, as the temple will always protect her followers. The brainwashed villagers seem to be buying this act, as they chanted celebratory shouts to the knights and the temple. Meanwhile, in the Holy Maiden's quarters, the setting is drab and gloomy, befitting for a monster like her. She sits, looking at some esoteric text. She heaves a sigh of relief at the fact that today's sermon went well as always. While holding a vial filled with red liquid, Freya, in her casual attire, was pleased that the townsfolk will pray even more devoutly to the temple and even offer more tributes. A very familiar voice rings out, calling out her name in agony. Hanged on the wall, with his bruised and battered body and even a missing eye, he was furious at this dam which was put him through so much torture. Freya just looked at our MC with scorn in her eyes. The goblin, still holding on for dear life, was a testament to his strong vitality. It is no wonder why the temple can't seem to eradicate these pesky goblins from the continent. Since she has some free time right now, maybe it's time to see how poison affects goblins. Hearing her spout all these vile things with her angelic voice made Lin Tian sick to his stomach. He yelled out with all the anger stewing inside. She deceived him just like how she's deceiving everyone in Brighttown. She even had Kelia killed, an innocent survivor. Is this what the so-called Holy Order does? Is this their so-called human justice? Speaking out against the demonic Holy Maiden carries its consequences. She shoved a wooden stake deep into his mouth, making him cough up blood. She is visibly furious, irritated by the fact that mere vermin like Lin Tian would dare question human justice. In her mind, she believes that he must have bewitched Kelia to speak for him, thereby betraying the Holy Order and earning her death. With a wicked grin on her face, she reminds our MC that goblins like him are nothing but vermin on this continent. It's an honor for him to even be speaking to the Holy Maiden. He should just be grateful and use his wretched and disgusting body to contribute to the Holy Order's experiments. With that, she activates a magical circle behind Lin Tian, and what follows after is the immense pain of being burned by the spell. Lin Tian wonders if this is it. Is his miserable life coming to an end at this moment? He thinks to himself how foolish he was to have held onto human compassion even when he was no longer human. And where did that lead him? To an early death. He vows in this moment that if he ever got the chance to do it all over again, he'd definitely have his revenge. Well, that's only if he could live again. Lin Tian opened his bloodshot eyes in confusion. He looked left and right and felt life. How could he possibly have survived those twisted experiments? Where the heck was he even? The system appeared, telling him that the goblin life simulation had been activated. He had died. Due to his own foolishness, he forgot that he was a goblin expecting pity from humans. Humans could never trust nor pity goblins in a million years. The torture and pain he felt this past week will forever be imprinted on his soul. He would never forget the pain the humans brought him. He will be given a restart for a new life. So this is his personal system that only activates after death. If he is reading this correctly, this system could bring him back to life. But it seems he would still be reborn as a lowly goblin nonetheless. Just to be sure, he asked the system what his yes or no represents. The system promptly replied that if he chooses no, his soul will dissipate into nothingness, and he will die a permanent death. And if yes, he would retain his memory and system, and he'd be sent back to the Goblin Cave a week back in time. Lin Tian finally understood the gravity of this opportunity as a twisted grin appeared on his face. This is a chance for revenge, an opportunity to get his revenge on Loder and Freya. He doesn't hesitate to choose yes. Now his Goblin Life 2.0 will begin. The system transports him back in time to the Goblin Cave, and a notification pops up telling him that he's been slightly strengthened by the system to aid his survival. Lin Tian sighs at the fact that his stats had barely even increased despite the strengthening. But hey, it's better than nothing. The system informed Lin Tian that the danger isn't over yet. The Holy Order are nearing the cave, and this time, if he dies, he's gone for good. It's just as Lin Tian expected. He cannot afford to let his guard down. Right now, he has to think of a way to escape and get stronger, then prepare himself for his revenge. He asked the system what it could do. Well, the system is called the Goblin Life Simulation System. It enables the user to simulate his life, allowing him to foresee future events. Each simulation, however, would lead to different outcomes. Every simulation goes on for about 24 hours, and he will earn points after it ends, points that can be exchanged for various magical items. Lin Tian reckons that he can certainly work with this. He opened the prompt and quickly started his first life simulation. The current scenario is a mission to escape the Goblin Cave. With Holy Knight Loader discovering the Goblin Lair, Lin Tian needs to make the following choices. The first option is to warn his fellow goblins and unite to face Loader, Ifreya, and their men. This would yield 10 points. The second option is to abandon the other goblins and escape before everyone gets wiped out. This would yield 5 points. The third and final option is to hide in the cave and just pray that Loader and the Holy Order don't find him. That would leave him with a disgraceful 0 points. Although there are multiple options, Lin Tian thought to himself that escaping is the only thing that could save him, as even if he were to unite all the goblins against the Order, they wouldn't even be able to match Loader alone. He decided to simulate that option nevertheless, in hopes that he could get a decent weapon with his 10 points and maybe defeat them with a sneak attack. But due to the large gap in strength, he was still slain by the Holy Knights. The system advised him to recognize his own strengths before making decisions. So it's clear that he can't rely on the weak goblins. But at least he got his 10 points. Excited, he opened up the exchange shop and was greeted by multiple projections of various weapons to buy. Unfortunately, most of the weapons were too expensive, ranging in the hundreds and thousands. Luckily, he found a dagger that cost exactly 10 points. It was an elven lightweight swift blade, a small dagger crafted by elves, fragile but very sharp. He quickly bought and equipped the new blade, and it increased his strength by 15 and his speed by 10%. This weapon was worlds apart from the crooked and cheap-looking stone dagger he had been using up until now. With that out of the way, he had one more question for the system. He was indeed sent back in time to the same cave. However, he had not seen any trace of Kelia. The system replies that due to his rebirth, changes in the timeline occurred, and this time Kelia was not captured by the goblins. She doesn't need to go through the trauma of being captured by goblins and dying at the hands of her rescuers. A small smile crept up in Lin Tian's mouth. In some convoluted way, it looks like he fulfilled his promise to Kelia. In that case, he has no more concerns. He must escape and survive in order to enact his revenge on those bastards who put him through hell on earth. He managed to locate the narrowest exit. The entrance outside is smaller, so the guards posted up should be relatively weaker. Lin Tian lurked around the cavern's opening and spotted 2 guards. They were talking about their disgust for goblins and how easy this job would be. Lin Tian decided to strategize how to tackle the 2 knights up ahead. The guards themselves were happy to have been assigned to such a small entrance. Any goblins running out of this entrance would be scrawny and weak enough to be crushed by just one swing of a hammer. But they must not forget that Commander Loader ordered them to kill any girl who tries to escape in the chaos. They can't let any survivor reach the village. The sound of this alone made Lin Tian angry. The so-called Holy Order would go on to kill their own kind for no reason, let alone a goblin. He will have no other option but to fight his way out. He devised a plan and pinched his nose to make his voice like that of a girl's. He feigned being a captured girl from Brighttown who was trying to escape the goblins in order to lure the soldiers in. One of the guards approached the cave with murderous intent and a concealed blade. He thought to himself, if I just kill this straggler, Commander Loader will reward me. He called out to the captive, reassuring her that she's safe now that the Holy Knights have arrived. He didn't even get the chance to finish spitting out his bullshit before his vocal cords were torn apart by our MC dagger. Lin Tian came out with his dagger bathed in the blood of his first kill. Our boy is out for blood. He lunged ferociously at the other guard, who was still visibly shaken and confused about the whole situation. Without thinking twice, Lin Tian slashed the bastard from his shoulder all the way down to his abdomen. The guard began to tremble in fear. How could a goblin know how to speak human language? He began begging to be spared, even pulling the I have a family card. He goes on to justify his actions under the guise of just obeying orders. He even throws in a few conditions, saying that he'll give him lots of gold and even bring him a fresh and juicy human girl, really showcasing his rottenness. Lin Tian, upon hearing this, is filled with disgust. And at that moment, the soldier intended to strike, calling him a fool for letting his guard down. Then boom, his head went flying as Lin Tian decapitated him in a single swift motion. It was finally over. After this fight, Lin Tian was even more convinced that he shouldn't trust anyone, especially humans. Suddenly, some noise and a bright light came from deep within the forest, which could only mean that Saint Maiden and Loader were already close by. Right now, he was far from being in a condition to oppose them. He needed some time to become stronger. After taking a shirt from one of the guards, our hero Lin Tian set off. He promised that he would meet Loader and Freya again, and then they would pay for all the pain he had experienced because of them. Freya and Loader came to the place where the two dead guards were lying. After seeing that they were dead, Loader wondered what had happened here. Normally, 2 guards could easily stop even 24 goblins, but this case was out of line. If there was a creature capable of defeating 2 armed warriors, it was most likely a mutant goblin. They were the ones who most often caused problems for the Holy Order. Letting such a creature escape would mean more trouble in the future. Loader and Freya knew this. Loader kicked the body of the guard, calling him useless for not being able to handle just a single mutant goblin. Freya, on the other hand, was incredibly excited at the mention of the mutated goblin. She was eager to get her hands on another toy to have fun with. By evening, Lin Tian had gotten far enough from Freya and Loader, and he decided to take a rest and regain his strength. He vowed to deal with them and enact his revenge to the fullest. In this life, he will make every man's only desire to be death and make every woman moan and wail at his feet. But suddenly, his thoughts were interrupted by the sound of some rustling bushes behind him. Alarmed, he sprung up, preparing to attack first and gain the upper hand. Could it be that Loader and Freya haven't given up on hunting him yet? He dashed towards the clothed silhouette in front of him, blade in hand, definitely going for the kill. The stranger was startled by the appearance of Lin Tian. He was so frightened that he tripped on a rock and fell on the ground. However, our MC was wrong about something. This strange person was a goblin, and from his behavior, he meant no harm. Lin Tian was dumbfounded because he thought all goblins were male, which is why they can only reproduce by mating with other species. Yet a female goblin was sprawled on the ground right in front of him. She pleaded with our MC not to kill her, as she only came to get some water. However, when he checked her status window, everything made sense. According to the system, the girl was a level 3 goblin. Her profession stated that she was a god messenger, which explained her unusualness. From the skills she had devouring and wild growth. But what caught Lin Tian's attention the most was the information that if a male goblin mated with her, then he would become the legendary goblin god. This information made our hero think becoming a goblin god meant becoming very strong, and this was just what was needed. He didn't want to miss such a good chance. Seeing Lin Tian's gaze, the frightened goblin girl saw it as a danger and started begging him again to let her go. She told him that if she didn't bring water to the village, the tribe leader would beat her to death. Lin Tian, stuttering, told the girl not to cry and that he wasn't going to harm her. He couldn't let her cry as it might attract unnecessary attention. The girl was visibly surprised at the fact that she had met another goblin who could talk. Naturally, normal goblins can't talk very much as they're just that dumb, so it was very difficult for the girl to communicate with her tribesmen. The girl was also very surprised by Lin Tian's kindness and care, as in the tribe the other goblins do nothing but beat and scold her. She liked being around him so much that she offered him to return with her to the tribe. After hearing about the tribe, Lin Tian started asking her about it. Since he still wasn't sure if he could escape the chase from the Holy Order, the best solution was to lay low and wait in some goblin village where he will be like the others. Such a sudden change in our hero's demeanor confused the girl a bit. But after looking at Lin Tian with her charming eyes, she still agreed to take him to the village. A sly smile appeared on our hero's face. He has long thought about where he could find his subordinates. Fortunately, the opportunity presented itself. When they arrived at the village, armed goblins came out from within the tents. They were irritated by the unwanted guest who was in their territory. They were also surprised and disgusted by the fact that Lin Tian wore clothes just like the humans. This was very strange to them, and never had they seen a goblin like him before. At the same time, Lin Tian was assessing their numbers, happy it's such a lucky find. He did not expect to come across such a large tribe so early on. He decided that this was a good place to start preparing, and he began by asking them permission to join their village and meet their leader. The goblins became agitated by this strange goblin who came in like he owned the place and demanding to see their boss. They would catch this fool, beat him up, and then take him to their leader. They were suddenly interrupted by the female goblin's voice, telling them not to harm the guy as he isn't a bad guy. She hoped to at least delay the fight, but the boss himself had come out to see what was going on after hearing the commotion. All the other goblin goons quieted down, fearful of the boss' presence. The boss was clearly furious at all the noise being made. Lin Tian had one look at the boss's stats and became tense. He had reached level 25 and was also in possession of some pretty good weapons and an impressive set of skills. Our hero was stunned that this village had such a powerful leader, but this meant that he would have to defeat this powerhouse so that he could take this tribe for himself. The chief turned his attention to the female goblin, asking her what she was doing with this outsider. She replied with a trembling voice that our MC has no more to go, and that's why she brought him with her. Hearing this brought a wicked smile to the boss' face. He ordered his goons to devour Lin Tian. Just as they were about to lay hands on him, our hero whipped out his dagger, like as if preparing for battle. However, he knows he cannot defeat the boss at his current level and proceeds to negotiate with him. He tells the chief to spare his life and proceeds to offer up his services. He has skills that he could use to make the chief and his goblin stronger. He could make iron tools. The goblin boss walks up to Lin Tian, intrigued by the offer. He asks our MC what kind of weapons could he make and how exactly does he intend to make them. He replied saying that, as long as they could find iron, or he'd have no problem making simple iron tools. He could even make weapons that are stronger than his dagger. The goblins all got excited when they heard that they'd be getting an upgrade real soon. With iron tools, they no longer need to fear monsters or humans. They could even raid an elven city and mate with as many elves as they wanted. The boss considered the offer and decided to give our little hero a chance. He had to create those iron tools within 3 days, or else he would wipe him off the face of the earth like a shit stain along with the goblin girl. This old guy was really a ruthless one. He'd even go as far as killing his own when he gets mad. Lin Tian couldn't possibly dream of facing him head-on with his pathetic stats. He had to make those iron tools in order to buy time and get stronger for the meantime. Without a single waste of breath, Lin Tian set off into the night, with some other goon goblins assigned to aid him in finding this iron ore he spoke of. Our little goblin girl slowly trailed behind them, looking all caked up with her wooden spear. She called out to the other goblins in front to hold up for her. She was very tired as she had been walking all day. Then suddenly one of the goblins pounced on her, feeding her with kicks and insults. He threatened to kill her if she didn't get her lazy ass to the floor and find some iron ore. The other goblins cheered him up, telling him to finish her off, while the girl begged for mercy. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, a rock landed at the back of one of the goblins' head. The one who threw the rock was none other than Lin Tian. The goblins all fixed their gazes at our MC, infuriated that he dared to attack them. He ordered them to stop bullying the innocent girl. He did not bring them a fight. They should at least make themselves useful and find him some iron, or otherwise he'd waste every last one of them, he said, while flashing his incredibly sharp dagger. The goblins, as expected, turned tail and ran at the slightest peak of a weapon, while cursing at Lin Tian. The boss definitely won't spare his life once they find some iron ore. Lin Tian thought to himself that they were right. Even if he did make the iron tools, it's only a matter of time before he gets killed. He jumps out of his thoughts and looked at the goblin girl, still crying about the situation that just happened. If he could mate with her, perhaps he could get an upgrade and stand a chance against the village boss. He consoled the girl, telling her to stop crying. It was time to think about getting stronger. Our MC asked Yue to stay with him and be his girl. As long as she's with him, he'd protect her with his own life. She won't ever have to worry about what to eat or where to stay, and no one will ever bully her again. The girl, obviously flustered by our MC's riz, asked him if he really means all what he said. Our boy confirms it. Now she asks him how they could possibly get stronger as two weak little goblins. Our little Rizzler tells her to mate with him. as that is the primary way of gaining strength as a goblin. The innocent girl was short of words because she has never done this before, but that ain't gonna stop our hero. He shuts her up with a kiss as they both go down to do the do. Lin Tian overwhelms you with so much goblin meat that she completely surrenders to his power and dominance. After many minutes of huffing and puffing, Lin Tian receives a notification informing him that you will bear 7 of his children. And due to a skill limitation, he can only gain a few levels from this interaction. Lin Tian marvels at the fact that not only did he go up a few levels, but his physique also improved significantly. Now, his chances of beating the Goblin Priest are way higher than before. He picks up his cloak and covers Goblin Yue. He looks deep in her eyes and promises her that she's his girl from now on. He'd waste anyone who dares threaten her life ever again. Just then, screams for help echo throughout the area. Lin Tian gets on his guard, as they both avert their gazes to the direction of the sound. Right at that moment, one of the goblin goons, terrified, is trying to get away from a demonic-looking wolf. Something catches Lin Tian's eyes. The goblin in question has a lump of iron in his arms. Our hero readies himself to fight as he warns him to be careful. It seems these demon wolves are very deadly. Just as the goblin is about to get snatched into the jaws of the demon wolf, our boy springs into action. He shoves his elven dagger deep into the wolf's throat, killing it in an instant. The goblin looked at Lin Tian with awe and fear. How could this strange newcomer possibly be this strong? Our guy just stands over the wolf's carcass for a moment, aura farming like he's Sung Jinwoo. Then he turns around, facing the goblin, while an eerie aura emanates from his body. Taking it from its hands, he commends the goblin for being able to find such a good quality of iron ore and orders him to go find some more. With this, he can make some really good weapons and get one step closer to achieving his revenge.